What's up, YouTube? It's Brian, otherwise known as the Chaotic Dragon here on the YouTubes. So, today's discussion video is going to be the 60 card deck discussion. So, in a nutshell, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, we got the grass looks greener here in the TCG. And because we did, a lot of people are freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This dude's getting pluses for no reason. So, today I'm going to give you guys the answer to this problem. Now, first things first, let's discuss the decks that will most likely be using this card. There are three that I can think right off the top of my head. And these three are Infernoids, Lightsworns, and Skull Servants, or a combination of the three. So, that is, in a nutshell, the three decks that will be using this deck. The idea is if you're playing a 40-card deck and your opponent is you're playing the 60-card deck and your opponent is playing the 40-card deck, the idea there is that you will get to mill 20 cards, which, as you know, in these decks, these kind of decks are graveyard based, so they combat it very easily. Now, actually, hold on before I forget something here. Hold on, I got one more card because I'm going to help you guys learn how to fight this deck in a few different ways. I'm just going to use this as an example. Even though I personally hate this card, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an example. Alright, so there's a handful of ways you can learn about combating this deck. Most likely the one you're going to go with is probably something like Dark Law. You're going to play something very similar. There's a few trap cards, Macrocosmos, Defisher, etc. There's various monsters and stuff that basically do the same thing as Dark Law here and just say, nope, you don't get a graveyard. So there's your anti-meta answer there, your simple one. However, let's go for the more interesting anti-meta answer. And the idea is if you're playing a 60-card deck, what do you play? And to answer that question is, well, if you're going to play a 60-card deck, you're going to need to do a few things. Like, for one, you're going to need cards that thin out your deck, so you get to your cards, or at least get to one of your engines. Most likely, if you're going to play a 60-card deck to counteract this, in that aspect, you've already chosen a deck that can handle 60 cards. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick 2 or 3 engines that go together, that, that you can run in tandem. And I'm just going to give you a few decks that I know for a fact can handle that kind of thing. So, for example, you might want to throw in a Kaiju engine, because this is an engine that you can toss into almost any deck and do something, because especially if you're playing Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, basically what's going to happen is you're going to thin out your deck of 2 cards, which is good. You play this at 3, you play about 4, maybe 5 Kaijus. If you're playing the 60-card deck, you can go as full as 6 Kaijus, just to make sure. And if you draw a Kaiju, guess what? No big deal. You can get rid of a problem monster on the opponent's side of the board. Another thing you might want to try is things like Rescue Rabbit, which another card that summons 2 monsters. So then guess what it is? You get to pick those 2 monsters, and they get to go with you, correlate with your archetype. So, for example, if you're going to play a 60-card engine, maybe it's not such a bad idea to toss 2 normal monsters in there and a Rescue Rabbit. And maybe, because there's a handful of cards we know in the game that can search the Rescue Rabbit, aka Gold Sarcophagus, you'll search your thing, get it stall, get it back in a turn, and then you'll be like, oh look, Rescue Rabbit. 2 dinosaurs, Lagia. Walking Solemn. Problem solved. Another thing you might want to try is a Burning Abyss engine, because they do have Tour Guide and Graph here, which do special summon monsters from the deck. Really the big idea here is that you want to play monsters like these guys. That's what they all do. These 3 cards right here, or actually all these cards right here, summon monsters from the deck. Another thing you could do is play Pot of Desires at 3. This will allow you to mill off 10 cards into the banish zone. And then, of course, you will have your draw, too. So you got rid of 12 cards right there off of your 60-card deck. And then the lawn mowing person doesn't get to make as much advantage. The other theory is, like I said, you get to play cards like Maxi, 1-for-1, all these monsters here, or you get to also play a small mill engine of your own, like Mathematician, for example. If he's destroyed by battle, he's a draw, and you get to ditch a card on his summon. And then, of course, to give you a few budget ideas of what you can play, you can throw in Metaphors or Ignites, because these archetypes inherently thin the deck out, because they're just like, oh, well, Ignite's like, I'm going to blow this Ignite and this Ignite, go get a fresh Ignite. And they just do this until you have like 2 Ignites left, and then you get to summon a full board of Ignites. If you're playing a multiple card engine, well, guess what? You get to keep doing this. And that's the end all be all in the nutshell, is you're going to have to play more than just your deck's engine. So, for example, if you were choosing to play, I don't know, Shaddoll Trains, maybe you might want to toss in a Burning Abyss engine and make sure you're playing Triple Allure. Maximize on your card advantage. And I do mean a Burning Abyss engine, I do mean a small one. You don't want to play too many. Play like Farfa, Skarm, and like the pig, I can't remember what the heck his name is, your tour guide. And then, of course, make sure you're playing Allure of Darkness so you can maximize. Because in a nutshell, there's nothing wrong with a 60-card deck. There's nothing wrong with a 40-card deck. It's all up to player preference. I'm just giving you the players, an idea on how you can combat the 60-plus card deck, or not plus, because 60 is the max we can go, but these 60-card decks in a way that is effective, because getting to your cards is important. But if you're playing multiple engines, you got to make sure that these engines have some kind of synergy. Like, for example, with the Burning Abyss engine, maybe that's best probably played for also a graveyard-based deck. So you're going to want to play something like Shaddolls, for example, to go with it. And you're going to want to spam the dark monster, the dark one, Winda, and protect it. Just an example. Another thing you can do is you can play like the Speedroid engine and toss it into your Wind Witch deck, if you're going to go that route. I mean, the endless possibility, the possibilities are just endless. Like, for example, if you're playing Pendulums, like I said, you got Ignites and Metaphors, which are easily able to just thin. And the idea here is this way. You have to remember that when you play the deck this way, though, you're going to have to base your moves off what you draw, not what's in the deck. So, for example, if you're not going to play a mill deck, you're going to have to base it off what you draw. So if you draw 3 Ignites, you take the Ignite route. If you draw 3 Metaphors in your opening hand, and let's say you're playing Ignites and Metaphors in the same deck, you're going to want to go the Metaphors route. It's just that simple. There's really no reason to complicate it. Plus, you're going to want some staples. You know what I mean? For example, cards like Maxi, Ghost Ogre, maybe the Kaiju engine. There you go. There's a deck right there. Ignite, Metaphor, Kaijus. Boom. 60 cards, done. Easy way to go that route. You could also play 60-card heroes and actually play something other than just Dark Law. Wink, wink, hero players. Maybe you guys might like to play something else, for once in your lives. Huh? Maybe not just Dark Law, maybe actually play heroes, not just Dark Law deck. Huh? Maybe just a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, also another good idea for you to play is simple one-ofs that are really decent. Like, for example, throwing in an Artifact engine, because they also special summon from the deck, or playing a small Draco engine, because Dracos are really easy for your Pendulums, especially a Luster Pendulum here, because he'll just, pop up the other scale, and oh look, free monster. 3+1s. Ultimately, if you're going to play a 60-plus card deck, or you're going to play more than 40 cards, excuse me, I speak English, I swear, but if you're going to play more than 40 cards, you're going to need to thin out the deck. Period. Also, another quick strategy, once you know you're up against a lawn mowing deck, make them go first. If you're playing the 60-card deck too, because then they don't get anything. And then, of course, make sure that you can still do your plays if you are going for it first, because the good news is, even if you ditch out, 5 cards, they only get 5 cards, which is basically what a Lightsworn mill would be equal. A regular Lightsworn, like, this is it, right here. That's what a Raiden mill would be, pretty much. So, I mean, Raiden mills you 4 for a turn, so ultimately, if they only get 5 cards, they're not going to be able to do too much. The max they'll get is 2 Infernoids, and that's it. They're done. That's it. Maybe whatever they can normal summon, but, I mean, Infernoids are powerful, but, when you're playing a 60-card deck, now it's the luck of the draw. So, that was my little, I guess, I don't know, you call it a rant or instructional video, to give you guys an idea on how to combat these 60-plus card decks. This is everything I could possibly think of right here. Just various cards. I'm not sure why I put Nate. Oh, I don't remember why. The other thing is, like, stalling out is another strategy. So you throw cards like Dandelion into the graveyard, get 2 tokens, make it harder for them to kill you. That's the idea there. You can do this with multiple things. There's a Hippo card. There's Scapegoat. Wait till the last second. Go, monsters. That's just another route you can take. So basically the idea is you go 40 and play all these cards that thin out your deck, so on your turn you actually have moves to take. Make sure there's no graveyard, and last but not least, stall out. Because if they can't ever hit you, they'll run out of cards. But if you're going to take that route, be warned. Because stalling is not exactly the one I would least offer for that one. My 2 suggestions are, if you play 60 cards, play a bunch of cards that ditch it out, or play the opposite strategy where they don't get a graveyard. Those are the 2 ways that I would say take on that challenge. So, this has been your discussion video. I don't think I have anything else to add to that. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Oh, and for my regular viewers, all like 2 or 3 of you, just know, sorry about not getting you an upload yesterday, but it was Valentine's Day and I had to spend time with a lady. So, it's her day. But, y'all make sure you get your 3 videos this week. Don't worry. You're still going to get 3. You'll get today, tomorrow, and Friday. And then I'll see you again either Monday or Tuesday. Alright, so this is Brian the Chaotic Dragon. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'm out. If I can find the button.